Okay. Well, we don't have that much to say. Ready?
Yep.
Hey, we're two fat guys. And...
Oh, fuck, that's me. Sorry, I was waiting. I was ready with just the mask.
You like The Mask? Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just watched The Mask.
And?
Son of the Mask.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, from the franchising, this is the biggest change. Like, just so you know, Son of Mask only got dragged up from, like, the worst to... Well, it would have been the second, but it was the third because it came after chronologically.
Yeah.
And The Mask just plummeted down the ranks from being paired with Son of Mask.
Oh, yeah. The Mask holds up.
Yeah, we got to watch The Mask, which
Yeah,
I haven't watched in a while. I just got on Blu-ray.
It's fantastic. Obviously, everyone knows Jim Carrey's phenomenal in it.
Mm-hmm. He's a cartoon character. They got him at a steal because he yet to really...
Yeah, well, yeah, it was because it was
Make it big.
before Ace Ventura had made it big, like become a big smash.
Mm-hmm. So he's
when
like
he signed that on?
like less than $500,000.
Yeah, and then his next picture was Dumb and Dumber, which was
They're
$7
like,
million.
all of the money, please.
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz's first movie.
Cameron Diaz's first movie.
First film role.
Yeah.
She did very good. The cat is attacking my computer. That's not okay.
Yeah, Brandon got a cat, as you can tell by the last video. It's just attacking all the camera equipment. That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. So The Mask is, yeah, it's great.
I love it. I love the Red Hot Riding Hood references, and it's all the classic animation stuff. Jim Carrey being classic Jim Carrey.
Because apparently, and they've changed it from the Dark Horse Comics like brand, which was apparently a lot darker.
Yeah, a lot more violent, murdery. I was reading up a little bit on it. Apparently, Stanley Ipkiss gets killed at the end of the first story arc, and gets shot by his girlfriend.
Then the mask just
yeah, and so
goes from person to
so
person.
Big Head or the Mask or whatever they call him is like whoever's wearing it. I think at points he comes back from the dead. Also, there's a Joker crossover where the Joker becomes the Mask, and so it's just. It's probably really cool. Like, it's probably enjoyable. I imagine it's going to be the right sort of like hyper violence, sort of poking fun at that sort of genre.
Yeah, sort of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, like the turtles
stuff.
and the foot.
Yeah, but then apparently they went with obviously a much more cartoony tone for the movie, which worked because it was a Jim Carrey vehicle, so they played to his talents.
Yeah, they
very
played
well.
Yeah, they played what he did, and they explained it well in story. It was this mask brings out sort of what's the deep inside of you, and he was sort of a guy who loved cartoons and was sort of a repressed guy who wished he was as wacky and zany as his cartoons were, and that's what happened.
However, the movie that most of you probably haven't watched, hopefully,
hopefully,
Son of the Mask, came out in 2005, starring Jamie Kennedy.
11 years after the original, which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
Going from Jim Carrey to Jamie Kennedy, solid. I can't even sarcastically.
Yeah, Jamie Kennedy is rough.
And I feel like he knows it.
Yeah.
Like, there are some scenes where I just see in his eyes, he's just like, man, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, who he kind of is and how his persona is very much like his stand-up. I mean, so it's kind of, you get what you pay for. Like, I don't think, I think he was maybe, they were kind of hoping he would do something wackier, but he did Jamie Kennedy, which, not really, against him.
He did Jim Carrey he did Jamie Kennedy with a script that was poorly written Jim Carrey.
It was real rough.
So it was an actor not playing to his strengths, trying to do a poor imitation of another amazing comedian's very particular style.
To his strength, yeah.
And that's the other thing.
I think it was a no-win situation.
Yeah,
for
the
Jamie Kennedy.
The worst sort of thing about the movie is that, in addition to just being terrible, one of the major things that lead to being terrible is they want so much to be a sequel to The Mask and try to get that audience in, that they decide to change really what The Mask does, and like, okay, Loki is just this cartoon character that Jim Carrey loves, and so therefore him and The Mask and anyone affected by The Mask does all this like Jim Carrey, Tex Avery style cartoon stuff, and it just It's terrible. It's all these people who don't know how to write that style, don't know how to act that style, don't know how to shoot that style, don't know how to build a story out of that style, just throwing it everywhere, just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, and none of it sticks. Like, any time that you would find something like, oh, well, at least, like, before you could finish the sentence, they would ruin it.
Times that I was trying to be apologetic
because you were being the nice guy. Like, well, maybe it has.
Which I tried to whenever I'm watching, especially movies like this that are real rough.
That we're forcing ourselves to watch.
Yeah, I try to find the silver lining, the things like, oh well, this was kind of cool, or I like that they did this, and then each time I would think of something, they would manage to subvert it. Almost instantly.
Yeah, like the second later.
Like at one point, there's like these sort of end of Act 2 showdown between Loki, Alan Cumming, and Jamie Kennedy, and it ends with Alan Cumming losing his powers. Odin comes down and strips Loki of his powers, which makes sense. That's something Odin likes to do. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Loki's gonna have to either like realize the error of his ways and learn what it means to be a human, or just use his wit and intellect to fight this masked baby. That aside. And then next time we see Loki, he's begging Odin for forgiveness and saying, "Oh, I can get that mask this time, boss, if you just give me my powers back." And then he does.
Immediately gets his powers back.
Immediately.
Like we see like half a scene with Loki without his powers, and essentially it's just him climbing into a room and doing a ritual to contact Odin.
Yeah, using magic.
But he had to like scrawl runes and shit.
Yeah, so Odin was like, "Wow, you knew how to do magic without your powers? That's crazy. Like, here's your powers back." Like, fucking
poor.
You had a chance. I was gonna defend you, and then ruined. Yeah, I feel real bad for everyone involved in that. I imagine for a lot of those guys it was a paycheck.
Yes,
I feel like pretty good one. I mean, the movie was like it was upper 80s and $90 million budget, made back about 3/4 of that. I mean, I'm sure those actors got paid very nicely for their few days of work. Especially Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, I imagine Bob Hoskins had to take a nice little paycheck. Alan Cumming, I hope, did. Although he deserves better, and we deserve better out of Alan Cumming. I'm like, I know that you can be a good actor, but right now, like, they earned their Golden Raspberry nominations.
When was was X2 and X2 was in 2004. Okay, so yeah, this is post X2. This is post Nightcrawler. Alan Cumming, but it was probably right when they said, "Oh yeah, you're not coming back for X-Men 3. We have a different blue mutant we want to show off." And he's like, "Fuck, I'll go do the next thing. Son of Mask shit." Fine.
How much money for how few days? All right.
Fine. All right. But he tried.
I don't think he tried.
I think he tried as best as we could ask.
Maybe.
I don't think we're sitting here going, if Alan Cumming had tried a little bit harder, this movie would have been tolerable.
That's true. I don't think he could have, so that's maybe what I have a hard time with. I think he knew the script was what it was, and so he went out and just did that. Like, I think his performance could have been slightly better, because there are just some lines that are so poorly written, I'm like, you could have probably talked your way around that or not done that. Like when him,
but you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to, but I think like out of just reflex, he's good enough to just do it. I don't know. It's so bad. It's not Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. bad.
Yeah,
but just barely. It's not even like the Captain America from the 70s or the Doctor Strange. We got this. Like, well, it's from the 70s. This is a weird TV movie. This is within the past decade. Yeah. Theatrically released American-produced movie. It's from $80 million, like in that range, went towards making this movie, and it was just a piece of shit on film. It was like, oh, those things you like from your childhood, Brandon? We're just gonna shit on them for 90 minutes. There you go.
Stephen Wright was in it. Stephen was delightful.
Yeah, he was in like 3 scenes, and he's like, "Hey, say this in Stephen Wright's voice."
But he did Stephen Wright, and
yeah, Kal Penn's in like 2 scenes, and he did
no reason. Did his character do anything?
No, his character's I feel like what they did is they wrote the Act 1, and they're like, okay, we have all sorts of story threads. We'll figure it out later. We'll do just like CGI fights and shit. And they just never decided what to follow.
Yeah, and then Act 2 was just a baby and a dog fighting. CG baby, CG dog fighting the entire time.
I feel like they had a checklist of the first movie. Like, okay, we have to have a music number.
You know what this movie reminds me of?
Sadness.
Well, yes, it reminds me of what I think the Cat in the Hat movie's like.
I could see that.
Like, I have not seen the Mike
Zany,
Myers...
disconnected plot. Although I feel like I feel like I would have to enjoy watching Mike Myers play the Cat in the Hat more than I watch Jamie Kennedy playing the Mask. Or that baby playing the Mask. And the Ghost.
Yeah, but like I think just of that style, like just at least seeing the trailers and hearing people's reactions, because again I've not seen Cat in the Hat, but the impression that I got from that movie, from like the trailers of that, is kind of this.
Mm-hmm. They also went whole hog pitching like, okay, this is a kids movie. They got a kids movie director.
Yeah.
They filmed it for kids. They were infantile with their jokes. They weren't even sophomoric. They were pre-sophomoric jokes.
Oh, look, P.
Which is such a shame because I mean Jim Carrey. Like while the Jim Carrey, I was a kid, I loved it. I was like, hey, he's being wacky and zany. And then there were like condom jokes and shit that
we kept track of. There was 3 or 4 jokes in there that
it's like definitely
did not get as a kid and appreciated them as an adult.
And as rich and full as just it really feels like a checklist. It's the worst kind of sequel that happens to later. It's like, all right, here's this movie. They watched this successful movie. So they made a checklist of just seemingly random things from that movie and said, okay, these are what we decided are the things that made it successful. So they wrote down, like, music number, cartoon character references.
Speaking of music.
Yes?
Again, I was almost going to congratulate this movie on its great choice of credits music. Because there was the first song and the second song that played during the credits were the most creditsy songs I've ever heard in my life.
They're upbeat, like, hey, maybe leave the theater, here's the moral of the film again.
Yeah, like that, and then like there was the other kind of slower one, like, now we're listening to the credits song, and here's the people that carried the electric equipment. So, like, it's like very creditsy songs. And then I was like, oh, these are really creditsy songs.
And then, no sooner had you said that.
Then the second song ended, and I was like, all right, what are we going to get next? Are we going to get like the cut song from the movie that sometimes ends up here? Are we going to get the really slow Oscar bait song? No, instead we were treated to dead silence.
The Oscar bait song was Son of the Mask.
Well, you know what I mean.
Were those visual effects kind of okay? Please, someone just love this movie.
Yeah, just dead silence for the last, at least third, maybe half of the credits.
Hey, musical rights are expensive. You don't know. A lot of that movie went to Bob Hoskins. He had to show up for 2 days of filming. 2 days. What?
It was dead silence. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was jarring.
See how awake you are from watching Son of the Mask.
That was rough.
There's just really no redeeming to it. It's, like I said, seriously, if you sit down, watch The Mask, then watch this movie, I'm glad we did that, because then it just shows me, I can see a little bit of the thought process that went into the very poor studio executive.
Yeah, you could see the parallels that they tried to draw.
It feels like a first-time screenwriter got hired by the studio executive to direct
we know we want this. Yeah, give us this.
So essentially, it feels like a guy who, like, okay, he made an attempt. Maybe that's what the Cal Penn character was. Maybe that's some of the stuff with the wife, or the girlfriend, or unestablished female person who makes a reappearance from Dirty Work, one of my favorite movies. And then, so he, like, all right, here, write the screenplay. It's just a normal story. And they're like, oh, here's some notes. We need a musical number. Oh, okay, well, I'll add this in. And it's like, okay, we need this frog cartoon. Let's reference this frog cartoon. We need
more Alan Cumming in various costumes throughout the second act.
Yeah, but we don't have a whole lot of time to establish anything. So just quick flashes of it.
Yeah.
For no reason. Also, ignore alphabetical order on things. That makes the least sense.
But yeah, so fortunately that's done. So hopefully that's the low point of our marathon.
Yeah.
Next up we have the 2 movies that I know very little about.
Yeah, the problem is I know the absolute least about.
Yeah, and they're the both horror movies to my understanding. We've got Dr. Giggles.
Which definitely is a horror movie. Like, I clipped through it to make sure that it works.
And Virus.
Virus. It's the Virus theme song.
Hopefully it's got Cyrus the Virus from Con Air.
It doesn't.
It does not have John Malkovich. That's sad. Yeah, so those are up next. We're probably going to do one video. That would make sense.
Probably. But the real prize is after that. Like, this is our fans.
Yeah, we get the horror movies, and then after that we get Tank Girl.
Tank Girl!
Really excited. I have not seen Tank Girl in maybe a decade.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be solid.
I hope it holds up.
I hope we don't watch it like, oh God, why do we ever think anything positive about this movie?
Yeah. So, see you on the other side.
We're halfway to China by now.
Fuck you.